Welcome to 18ME 405 Thermal Engineering video lecture. Myself Subramanian, Assistant Professor from Department of Mechanical Engineering, Bandarayam Institute of Technology. We have 4 specific objectives of this course. First objective is about, after watching this video, students will able to illustrate the working principle of Brayton cycle with a neat schematic diagram. Students will able to indicate the various thermodynamic process involved in this Brayton cycle with and without modifications for its performance enhancement. And students are able to compute the performance of Brayton cycles with and without modifications for its performance enhancement. And the last specific objective is, after watching this video lecture, students will able to compare the performance of Brayton cycles with and without modifications for its performance enhancement. Or generally, power plants are classified into steam turbine power plant and gas turbine power plants. In steam turbine power plant, we are utilizing water as the energy carrier for generating electricity. But in the case of gas turbine power plant, we are just utilizing the ambient air as the energy carrier for generating electricity. Now we will discuss about the gas turbine power plants. The main working principle behind this gas turbine power plant is called Brayton cycle. Brayton cycle is the thermodynamic cycle which is designed by the legend Brayton. As per Brayton concept, we have two Brayton cycle. One is about open Brayton cycle. Second thing is about closed Brayton cycle. First, we will discuss about open Brayton cycle. In open Brayton cycle, initially we have compressor. So this compressor is just taking the atmospheric air and it is compressing the same air to high pressure and high temperature. Already we have studied this concept of isothermal compression and isentropic compression in thermodynamics, where we are able to understand the concept of compressing the gas. While compressing the gas, our ultimate aim is to increase the pressure. But unfortunately, as per ideal gas equation PV equal to mRT, what's happening is the temperature is increased. Since the fresh air which is taken at the first point is about only the typical temperature is around 30 degrees Celsius. After compressing the same, now the pressure is increased and the temperature is also increased. Now we have the pressurized air which is at higher temperature. After compressing this air, we are sending this compressed air into the combustion chamber where we are doing this combustion process. We all know that the only difference between this combustion chamber and the boiler which you have in your steam turbine power plant is very simple. In steam turbine power plant, in boiler, we are just burning the coal. Coal is a solid fuel. But in the case of gas turbine power plants, we have combustion chamber where we can able to burn liquid fuels or gas fuels. Due to depletion of fossil fuels, now everybody is looking for alternative fuels. Let us assume we have enormous amount of natural gas. If you want to burn the same to produce electricity, and if you are using steam turbine power plant for generating electricity, the efficiency is very less, because due to the difficulty in the heat transfer mechanism, we are unable to get maximum amount of energy. But in the case of gas turbine power plants, we can able to easily burn this natural gas. That is why people are preferring this gas turbine power plants for burning liquid fuel and gaseous fuels. So we have been talking about this combustion chamber, right? In combustion chamber, we are just supplying the fuel in the form of either it is a liquid fuel or it is a gaseous fuel. So we just sending the fuel and we have air here. So here we are supposed to get a chemical reaction process where we have reactants, two reactants is there. One is about air and second thing is about gas or liquid fuel. Here in combustion chamber, we are going to get a chemical reaction where the reactant is air and fuel. This reaction is called exothermic chemical reaction. Since we all know that the chemical reaction is classified into two categories, one is about exothermic chemical reaction, second thing is about endothermic chemical reaction. In exothermic chemical reaction, enormous amount of thermal energy is liberated. Now this combustion process is called exothermic chemical reaction, where enormous amount of thermal energy is liberated. The point is that how we are getting enormous amount of thermal energy, from which source we are getting this much of energy. It's very simple. We are just giving the fuel. This fuel is having some calorific value. Now again we want to ask one more question. How this fuel is having this much of energy? Simply the answer is that it is having the energy in the form of chemical energy. So what we are doing is We are just splitting these chemical molecules so that the chemical energy is converted into thermal energy in the combustion chamber. After doing this exothermical chemical reaction, now we are having the gas which is having high enthalpy content. Now we are just passing this high enthalpy content gas into the turbine so that we are just extracting all the energy which is available from the turbine. Our ultimate aim is to just observe all the energy which is available in the turbine. But unfortunately, as per Kelvin-Planck statement, we are failed to design a mechanism to extract 100% efficiency. Now we have some gases which is having some few amount of energy. We are failed to extract the same and we are just sending out the same into the atmosphere. You see, in point number 1 we have fresh air which is about 1.01325 bar pressure and approximately 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. You just compressing the same and we are getting pressurized air. Remember, pressure is also increased and temperature is also increased. And we are sending the high pressurized air into the combustion chamber where the combustion process is happening. After doing all the combustion process, we have hot gases which is having high energy content or enthalpy content. We are just passing those gases into the turbine. Finally, the turbine shaft is rotated. Now you can able to see that we are having a shaft which is connecting this compressor and the turbine. The reason is that we are just compressing this air to get the pressurized air. For this process, we need to spend so much of energy. We need to spend so much amount of energy. So manually or by coupling with motor or by coupling with a battery connection and all, it's just drawing so much amount of energy, right? We are unable to supply the energy input which is required for this compressor. So what we are doing is just we are coupling the shaft of compressor with the turbine. So let us assume if you are getting 1000 kilowatt of work output from this turbine, maybe 200 kilowatt of work input is given to the compressor, and finally you are getting 800 kilowatt of work output energy as net work output. So this is what happening in your open cycle. Now we all know that in recent days people are looking for only two things. First one is about energy, second one is about pollution. Since you can able to see here, we are continuously polluting the environment. To overcome this problem, here suggested one more cycle which is called closed cycle, where we are not just sending out this exhaust gas into the atmosphere. Here instead of combustion chamber, we have two heat exchangers. The first heat exchanger is about we are just supplying the heat energy, and second one is about it is just rejecting the heat energy. So here we are only getting the heat energy as the heat rejection. We are not getting any pollution here. And separately we have a combustion chamber. From that we are just transferring the heat energy here. And the pollutant gas whatever we are collecting here is to be treated. And one more problem is that if you are sending these producer gases to the turbine blades, we may not know what is the chemical composition of those gases. Here erosion corrosion is maybe possible in these turbine blades. But in the case of this cycle, we don't have any direct contact between this producer gas with this turbine. Since we have only air which is circulated over this compressor, heat exchanger, turbine, heat exchanger and all. So here we don't have any problem with this erosion corrosion of turbine blades due to this producer gas. But unfortunately, we have one drawback for this cycle is this cycle can be applied for minimum amount of power production. If you want to go for maximum amount of power production, or if you want to go for higher energy conversion rate, you should go for open cycles. The sad case is that all the gas turbine power plants which is available in worldwide, they are using only open Brayton cycle. To understand the concept of Brayton cycle, initially Brayton suggested ideal Brayton cycle concept, which means he suggested that he has 4 thermodynamic processes in his cycle. First one is about isentropic compression process, where we are just compressing this air. Second process is about isobaric heat addition, where at constant pressure we are just supplying the heat energy into this air. And third process is about isentropic expansion process. This is just opposite to your compression process. So first process is about isentropic compression, second process is about isobaric heat addition, third process is about isentropic expansion, and the fourth process is about isobaric heat rejection. So first process we have to supply the work energy, Second process, we have to supply the heat energy. And third process, we are getting work output from this turbine. Fourth process, heat is rejected. The same thing can be drawn in PV diagram, as already we had studied this concept in your thermodynamics subject in previous semester. So for all the four thermodynamic process, the first one is about isentropic compression, second one is about isobaric heat addition, third one is about isentropic expansion, and the last one is about isobaric heat rejection. So we can able to draw this PV diagram as well as TS diagram. You see, we have two isentropic process and two isobaric process. So this is about ideal Brayton cycle. To improve the performance of ideal Brayton cycle, Hill has suggested a concept which is called Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now we will discuss about Brayton cycle with intercooling. Already we have discussed the ideal cycle where we have four processes. First one is about isentropic compression, second one is about isobaric heat addition, third one is about isentropic expansion, and the last one is about isobaric heat rejection. Now come to the point. We all know that for compressing the air, we are spending so much of energy. The reason is that if you want to compress the air, it means that we want to reduce the volume. So if you are reducing the volume, what will happen to the pressure? Pressure is slightly increasing. But unfortunately, as per ideal gas equation and perfect gas equation, I hope you have studied this concept in your thermodynamics in previous semester. By applying this concept, we can able to understand that my ultimate aim is to increase the pressure. But unfortunately, what happened? The temperature is slightly increasing. This is due to ideal gas equation and perfect gas equation and bigger of these gases. Right. So come to the point. So if you want to compress the air into certain pressure, we are spending so much of energy. Now Brayton suggested a concept which is called intercooling, which means, for example, if you want to compress the air from 1 bar to 10 bar, let us assume you are spending 10 kilowatt of energy. What Brayton suggested, instead of going for a compressor which is to compress from 1 bar to 10 bar, let us go for two compressors. One is about compressing the pressure from 1 bar to 5 bar, and next one is about it is compressing the air from 5 bar to 10 bar. So you see here, we are splitting the compressor into two compressors. Instead of having a single compressor which is to compress the pressure of air from 1 bar to 10 bar, now we are having two compressors. First compressor is just compressing the air from 1 bar to 5 bar, and second compressor is compressing the air from 5 bar to 10 bar. Now most of us will have a doubt in our mind like this: why we have to go for two compressors instead of buying a single compressor for a Brayton cycle? Why I have to buy two compressors for this Brayton cycle? The concept is very simple. You see here, let us assume we are talking about two cases, right? So first case is about we having only one compressor, and second case is about we have two compressors. If you have one compressor which is compressing the air from 1 bar to 10 bar, let us assume approximately it is just consuming 10 kilowatt of work input for compressing the air, so that we have to send the pressurized air to combustion chamber. Case 1, we have only one compressor which is consuming 10 kilowatt of energy. Now come to the point. As per Brayton's suggestion, we are just going for intercooler. Instead of having one compressor, we have two compressors. So compressor 1 is compressing the air from 1 bar to 5 bar, and we all know that the temperature is slightly increased. Now listen carefully. We are introducing an intercooler. Intercooler is a heat exchanger. As much as possible, it will remove the heat energy, thermal energy which is available in the compressed air, just like a heat exchanger. So what happened if as much as possible, if you are able to remove the heat energy or thermal energy which is available in the compressed air at first stage of compression, which means the temperature of the compressed air at first stage is slightly decreased after passing through the intercooler. Now come to the point. If you are reducing the temperature of the gas, so as per molecular physics, we can able to understand that if the temperature of the gas is decreased, the volume is getting decreased. So finally the density is slightly decreased. If the density is decreased, which means easily we can able to compress the air at second stage. So the overall objective is that instead of having a single compressor, we have two compressors. In between that we are placed one intercooler. After having these two compressors and one intercooler, finally the sum of work input given to the compressor 1 and compressor 2 is about only 7.5 kilowatt. Now I hope you can understand the point that in first case we have a single compressor which is consuming 10 kilowatt of energy. Now instead of one compressor we just provided two compressor. In between that we have intercooler. So by providing two compressors and one intercooler, finally this setup is consuming only 7.5 kilowatt of energy. Now we have pressurized air. We are sending the same pressurized air to the combustion chamber. Again we are doing the exothermic chemical reaction there. After doing this exothermic chemical reaction, we are sending this high energy content gas to the turbine for isentropic expansion. After having this isentropic expansion, again we have to remove the heat energy which is available in the air for further compression. You may have a doubt like this. Purposely, why we need to remove the heat energy from this expanded gas? Directly we can send this expanded gas to the compressor here, right? The reason is very simple. See, the gas which is expanded here is at higher the temperature. If you send the higher temperature gas directly here to the compressor, what will happen? The higher the temperature gas is having, lower the density. So this compressor will consume more amount of work input for compressing the air. To avoid these technical issues, we are just providing the heat exchanger which is removing the heat energy. So what happened? The temperature is reduced and volume is decreased, so that the density is also increasing. So keep this in your mind. Density is always inversely proportional to the temperature. Okay. So this is how the intercooling Brayton cycle is working. Now come to the point of TS diagram. So first process is about first stage of isentropic compression. We have first stage compressor. In first stage compressor, you are just compressing the air from 1 bar to 5 bar. You see here, this is pressure curve. This is about 1 bar curve and this is about 5 bar curve. So you can able to see that in first stage we are just this is 1 bar. We can able to see the pressure lines in this TS diagram. This is 1 bar curve and this is 10 bar curve, pressure curve, and the intermediate is nothing but 5 bar. You see, in first stage, instead of going for a single compressor, instead of having a single compressor which is used to compress the air from 1 bar to 10 bar, now we have two compressors. So first compressor, you see, the first compressor is used to compress the air from 1 bar to 5 bar, and the second compressor is used to compress the air from 5 bar to 10 bar. So 1 to 2 process is nothing but isentropic compression process, and 2 to 3, this is 2 to 3, right? Intercooling process, where we are removing the heat energy. You can able to see the temperature is slightly decreasing, and you can able to see the 1 to 2 process temperature is increasing. Why? In isentropic compression only temperature has to be increased, right? Why the temperature is increasing? This is due to ideal gas behavior. So next, second stage compression is from third point, from 5 bar you are just compressing the air to 10 bar. So at point number 4 we are having high pressurized air. You are sending the pressurized air to combustion chamber where you are supplying the heat energy. So the temperature of gas is increased. You see, entropy is also increasing. So here you can able to understand the concept of entropy, right? At heating process, entropy is increasing. At cooling process, entropy is decreasing. So the next process is about expansion process, isentropic expansion. In turbine, we are just having the expansion. So the gas is expanding in the turbine where it's isentropic expansion. So the isentropic expansion is happening. Final thing is that isobaric heat rejection. So now we can able to understand the difference between ideal Brayton cycle and Brayton cycle with intercooling. In ideal Brayton cycle, we have only 4 processes. What is the difference between this ideal Brayton cycle and Brayton cycle with intercooling? It's very simple. In ideal Brayton cycle, we have only 4 processes: isentropic compression, isobaric heat addition, isentropic expansion, and last one is about isobaric heat rejection. So in Brayton cycle with intercooling, we have 6 process. First one is about isentropic compression one. Second thing is about intercooling. Third one is about isentropic compression two. About isentropic expansion. Last one is about isobaric heat rejection. Okay. So this is what happened in Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now, this is the summary about Brayton cycle with intercooling. So the first point is about the work required to compress can be reduced. Now, how the work input given to the compressor is reduced by using intercooling is very simple. You are just reducing the temperature of the compressed air between one stage to another stage. So what happens if you reduce the temperature of the air? So obviously the volume is getting reduced. If the volume is getting reduced, the density is slightly increased. If the air is having higher the density, we can able to easily compress the air. That is the only main objective behind this Brayton cycle with intercooling. Now next very important point is that whether the efficiency of the cycle is increased or not. That is the question. Now we have to be very careful while dealing with these technical parameters like efficiency and all. Since the difference between ideal Brayton cycle and Brayton cycle with intercooling is very simple, we have only the intercooler, which is reducing the work input given to the compressor, so that instead of going for 10 kilowatt compressor, you can buy 7.5 kilowatt of compressor of two compressors. Maybe one is about 3.75, another thing is about 3.75. But here the very important note is that your efficiency of Brayton cycle is not significantly improved by using this intercooler. The reason is that when you go for multi-stage compression, the pressurized air after coming out from the second stage compression is very less when compared to the temperature of the air which is coming from ideal Brayton cycle. Now you are sending the air which is slightly less than your ideal Brayton cycle into the combustion chamber. So by using this multi-stage compression, you are sending the air into the combustion chamber which is having the typical temperature of compressed air, which is slightly less than the compressed air which is coming from ideal Brayton cycle. Now to compensate this decrease in your temperature, we have to spend little bit amount of fuel to compensation of this temperature. So what happened? The overall efficiencies remains same. But the point is that instead of having a big compressor, you can go for a small compressor. So instead of 10 kilowatt compressor, you can go for 7.5 kilowatt compressor. That is the advantage of this Brayton cycle with intercooling. So now we are very clear about the first modification which is done on ideal Brayton cycle is that intercooling. Now second modification for improving the performance of ideal Brayton cycle is Brayton cycle with regeneration. Now the second modification to be done on Brayton cycle for improving its performance is Brayton cycle with regeneration. So regeneration is just similar with this intercooler. Here the only difference between regeneration and intercooler is Brayton cycle with intercooler concept is we are providing intercooler in between two compressor. But now in regeneration, the concept about Brayton cycle with regeneration is very interesting. Here what we are doing is that we are just utilizing the waste heat energy which is available in the expanded gas. Already we have discussed that why we are just removing the heat energy which is available in the expanded gas. Why we are not supposed to directly send this expanded gas to the compressor instead of passing the heat exchanger or instead of going for heat rejection process, right? Already we discussed about the same. Now Brayton had suggested one more idea is as much as possible we are just going to recover the heat energy which is available in the expanded gas. You see here process 1 and 2 is same. We have compressor, the compressor is just compressing the air, isentropic compression. Process 2 and 3 we are just sending the compressed air to the combustion chamber. Here the exothermic chemical reaction is happening and after that we are passing the same to the turbine. You see here we are just providing the regenerator. Regenerator is a heat exchanger. Similar to the intercooler, this regenerator is a heat exchanger which is just transferring the thermal energy from the expanded gas to compressed air. You see now, if you pass this expanded gas to the regenerator, as much as possible we are just recovering the heat energy which is available in the expanded gas. So what happened? The heat loss which is dumped into the atmosphere is reduced, and the heat input which has to be given to the combustion chamber is also getting reduced. Now it's very clear for us that in Brayton cycle with intercooler the efficiency is not changing, but in the case of regeneration there is a possibility for increasing the efficiency. Why? Because there is a possibility for reducing the fuel supply, reducing the amount of fuel supply which is given to the combustion chamber. So we can able to see this TS diagram similar to this intercooling. So 122 is about isentropic compression, and 223 is about isentropic, 223 is about isobaric heat addition, 324 is about isentropic expansion, the last one is about isobaric heat rejection. So in between that we are just exchanging the heat energy. So whatever the energy you want to release, the same, whatever the energy you want to dump into the atmosphere is just given to preheating the compressed air before sending the same into the combustion chamber. So the overall efficiency is getting increasing. Now we'll discuss about this technical summary behind this Brayton cycle with regeneration and compared with this ideal Brayton cycle. So in regeneration we are just utilizing the waste heat, or we are recovering the waste heat energy which we are dumping into the atmosphere. So what we are doing is that we are just getting two advantages. One is about we are, as much as possible we are reducing the pollution. Second thing is that as much as possible we are increasing the thermal efficiency of this Brayton cycle by absorbing the waste energy. So in expanded gas we are having enormous amount of thermal energy which is available in the form of waste heat. So we are just recovering the waste heat from those expanded gas. We are utilizing those gas for preheating the compressing air. So already you have preheated the air. So what happened? Your combustion chamber, in combustion chamber the energy required for producing the high enthalpy content gas is reduced. So at overall picture your fuel consumption is reduced. So finally your efficiency of your cycle is getting increased. So the overall objective of this Brayton cycle is very simple. We are going to increasing the thermal efficiency of the Brayton cycle by using the waste heat recovery. Now we are very clear about the first modification and second modification to be done on Brayton cycle. First modification is what? We are just providing the intercooler in between two compressors for reducing the compressor size, for decreasing the energy consumption, for decreasing the energy input given to the compressor. What is the second modification? We are just providing the regenerator. This regenerator is reducing the fuel supply to the combustion chamber. So at overall cost, in your second modification, your efficiency of your Brayton cycle is getting increasing. Now let us discuss about the third modification to be done on your Brayton cycle. This is about reheating. What in by reheating means? It's a kind of secondary combustion. We are doing two combustion. One is about primary combustion, second thing about secondary combustion. You see here, similar to your ideal Brayton cycle, we have first process as isentropic compression. You have compressor here, you are just compressing the same. So you have pressurized air, and we are sending the pressurized air to the combustion chamber. This is called isobaric heat addition. After going this isobaric heat addition, after doing this all exothermic chemical reaction, we are passing the high energy gases into the turbine. So we are rotating the turbine. Now once again we are passing this expanded gas to the reheat combustor, which means we are having one more combustion chamber here. Again we are doing this combustion activities, so that what happened, again the temperature of this and the enthalpy content and temperature of your gas is increased, and we are passing this gas over the turbine 2. So here instead of having a single turbine, here we have two turbines. So in between these two turbines, once again we are reheating this gas by using the secondary combustion chamber. So finally you can get more work output from this reheating cycle. Now we can discuss about the difference between your first modification and second modification and third modification. In first modification, we are going for intercooling for reducing the energy input which has to be given to the compressor. We are not increasing efficiency, we are not decreasing efficiency. Our ultimate aim is to reduce the energy input given to the compressor. Second modification is about by providing the regeneration, we are increasing the efficiency by decreasing the energy input given to the combustion chamber. We are reducing the fuel supply so that the overall cost, the efficiency is getting increased. You see here in third point, in third modifications of Brayton cycle, by using reheater, we can able to extract more amount of energy from the turbines. For example, in ideal Brayton cycle, you are getting 100 kilowatt of work output. By doing this reheating, you can get 150 kilowatt of work output by providing two turbines. In between these two turbines, we are just providing the reheater. I hope now we can understand the difference between the first modification and second modification and third modification. In first modification, we are providing the intercooler. By providing the intercooler, what happens? The temperature in between the compression stage is decreased, so that the energy input given to the compressor is decreasing, not efficiency is increasing, decreasing and all. Just the energy given to the compressor is decreasing. The energy output which you are getting from the turbine remains constant, the efficiency is constant. Just the energy input given to the compressor is decreasing. Now come to the second modification. By using regeneration, we are just reducing the fuel supply given to the combustion chamber, so the efficiency is increasing. Now come to the third modification. By using reheater, you can get more amount of work output from the turbines. Instead of having one turbine, we are providing two turbines. In between these two turbines, we are providing the reheater. So at overall cost, you can get more amount of work output from the turbines. Please understand this third modification. You are not increasing the efficiency, we are not decreasing the energy consumption. We are just increasing the net work output from these turbines, net work output from the cycles. So here you can able to see this layout of reheat Brayton cycle and a TS diagram for this reheat Brayton cycle. You see, so as usual, we having compressor where we can do this isentropic compression. After doing this isentropic compression, we are sending the compressed air to the combustion chamber where we are doing isobaric heat addition. So exothermic chemical reaction is happening here, and we have hot gases which is having high energy content. We are passing the gas into the turbine. So instead of having a single turbine, now we have two turbines. So in between these two turbines, we have a reheater. You see how the TS diagram will be. So as usual, 1 to 2 process isentropic compression from 1 bar to 10 bar, and 2 to 3 is nothing but isobaric heat addition. So heat is added, so temperature is increasing. Now you see here 3 to 4, instead of having a turbine from 10 bar to 1 bar, instead of having a single turbine, we have two turbines now. So one turbine is, in one turbine we are having isentropic expansion of 10 bar to 5 bar, and we have another turbine where we are expanding the gas from 5 bar to 1 bar. So you see now in between these two turbines, once again we are having a reheater which is heating the gas. The interesting fact is that the temperature of the gases before sending the gases into the turbines, you see T3, temperature of gas before sending into the turbine 1, temperature of the gas T5 before sending the same to turbine 2, both the temperatures are same. So T3 equal to T5. This is the only boundary condition for this Brayton cycle with reheater. So it's very simple. Instead of having a single turbine, we are having two turbines. In between that, we are having a reheater. So what happened? At overall cost, we can able to extract more amount of work input, as well as we are spending more amount of energy in the reheater. So efficiency is not changing, right? Efficiency keep remains constant. Clear? So the technical summary behind this Brayton cycle with reheating is, first important point is that since we discussed that once again we are going for reheating, right? You're not supposed to go with 10 times to 20 times or 30 times of reheating. Here we are just playing with a parameter which is called temperature. Since this temperature is limited with these metallurgical constraints, since the turbine blade is having some constraints with respect to the temperature, it has its own melting point temperature. So you should be very careful while choosing this reheating temperature. You have to go for, so you should be very careful while designing the turbine blades. You should have that much of temperature withstanding capability. So the thermal expansion coefficient should be checked for turbine blades. So that is the first constraint. Second constraint is about, since we have two combustion chamber here, right? So we need to spend more amount of air. So we have to send more amount of compressed air into the combustion chamber. Since why? Because we have two combustion chamber. We want to go for two states of combustion. So as we all know that for doing this exothermic chemical reaction, oxygen is very must, right? So we need to go for excess air supply. That is the second important point to be noted with this reheating Brayton cycle. And third thing is about your turbine outlet temperature is increased. So in the difference, in ideal Brayton cycle where the turbine outlet temperature is not increased, but in the case of reheating, once again we are reheating the gas which is already expanded, right? So again we are passing the same into the turbine, second stage turbine. So the gas which is coming out of the second stage expansion, so that the temperature of the gas which is coming out of the second stage expansion is very much higher. So you should be very careful with the last process, isobaric heat rejection process, right? So you have to remove more amount of heat energy from that process. To avoid this problem, we can combine this reheat with regeneration, so that this technical issue has been sorted out. So this is the best example for the combination of intercooling and reheating and regeneration. So you can able to see this best example. We have intercooler here, in between two compressors we have intercooler, as well as we have regenerator and we have reheater. So in a single Brayton cycle where we have all the three modifications, we had done all the three modifications in this ideal Brayton cycle. Now the overall efficiency of the system is enhanced. The reason is that if you provide the intercooler, what happened? This compressor is consuming less amount of energy. If you are having regenerator, the waste heat which is rejected from this gas is reduced, so that we can save some little bit amount of fuel here. So the overall efficiency of this entire cycle is increased. Now we can discuss about the TS diagram of the modified Brayton cycle with intercooling and reheating and regeneration. So you see, now we have intercooler here, we have regenerator, we have reheater. You see, so as usual, first process is about isentropic compression. Since we mentioned that it is intercooling, so instead of having a single compressor, now we have two compressor. One is instead of having a compressor to compress the air from 1 bar to 10 bar, we have two compressors. One is compressing the air from 1 bar to 5 bar, and next thing is that another compressor is that compressing, the second compressor is compressing the air from 5 bar to 10 bar. So we have two compressors. In between these two isentropic compressing process, we have intercooling. So this intercooler is just reducing the temperature of your air. Now one more important point is about this intercooling is that you can able to see that, right, before compression the temperature is T1 here. It is about 30 degrees Celsius because the air is sucked from the atmosphere, so the temperature is about 30 degrees Celsius. Now we can able to see here, after first stage of compression it is passed through the intercooler. So intercooler is just reducing the temperature of the air, and once again we are compressing the same. Before compression we have to ensure that the temperature of air after intercooling will be equal to the intercooled air, must be equal to your temperature of the air at first point. So this is very clear. It's just similar to the reheating setup. Already we have discussed about this reheat, right? If you are reheating, the temperature should be equal to the previous heated temperature. Similarly, if you are doing intercooling, the temperature should be equal to the previous temperature. So this should be noted here. After doing all the intercooling, we are just passing the compressed air through the heat exchanger regenerator. Preheating is happening. You see, this much of amount of energy is getting transferred here. So heat exchanging is taking place. After doing this preheating, we have combustion chamber 1. So it's just heating the gas. Again we have regeneration set. After doing this regeneration, we are passing this regenerated air to this combustion chamber. After that we have reheating setup. Instead of having a single turbine which is expanding the gas from 10 bar to 1 bar, here we have 2 turbines. First turbine is expanding the gas from 10 bar to 5 bar. Second turbine is expanding gas from 5 bar to 1 bar, which means this is called reheating. After passing through the first stage of expansion, after doing the first stage expansion, once again we are reheating the same. So here it should be very important things to be noted is that the temperature should be equal. So after that, as usual, the last process is about isobaric heat rejection. Now we will discuss about how can we compute the performance of ideal Brayton cycle. How can we compute the performance of Brayton cycle? What is this heat supply? How can we find the amount of heat supplied to the Brayton cycle? How can we find the amount of heat rejected from this Brayton cycle? How much amount of work given to the compressor? How much of amount of work expanded from this turbine and all. So we are once again we can recall the same. In Brayton cycle we have 4 processes. First one is about isentropic compression. Second one is about isobaric heat addition. Third one is about isentropic expansion, and the last one is about isobaric heat rejection. Right. So in 1 to 2 process, you can able to see this thing in a TS diagram, right? It is isentropic process. Entropy is constant. So isentropic compression. Second one is about isobaric heat addition. It is in curve because isobaric is a curve process, right? So isobaric process is a curved in nature in TS diagram. Again isentropic compression. Again isentropic heat rejection. Now we are going to discuss about how can we compute the performance of ideal Brayton cycle, or how can we compute the performance of or efficiency of Brayton cycle. We are going to discuss about how much amount of energy is really needed in this Brayton cycle. What is the formula for calculating those energy, how those formula is derived, and how can we find out the amount of energy is to be rejected from this Brayton cycle, and how what is the formula is used to find those value, how the formula is derived, and how can we understand the concept of net work output, Wt minus Wc, which means the amount of energy which is available in you after spending some amount of energy in the compressor. We all know that in ideal Brayton cycle, the energy added into the cycle, I mean in exothermic chemical, the exothermic chemical reaction is happening at isobaric process. So I hope we have studied this isobaric heat addition in your thermodynamics, where the formula is MCP del T. So here the process is called isobaric heat addition process is happening at 223 process. So it's very clear that after giving the heat energy into the gas, the temperature is maximum at third stage. So we can put that MCP T3 minus T2. So it's simple. MCP del T is nothing but steady flow energy equation for isobaric process, where T3 is the temperature after heat added into the gas. T2 is the temperature before heat added into the gas. So M is nothing but mass of gas, Cp is nothing but specific heat of the gas. If you are assuming this as Arsenault cycle, typically the Cp is around 1.005 kJ per kilogram Kelvin. So I hope you can recall, you can remember the Cp value, Cv value, and gamma, which you have studied in your thermodynamics. Cp is nothing but specific heat at constant pressure, 1.005 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. Cv is about 0.717 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin, specific heat at constant volume process. And R is nothing but gas constant, value is 0.287 kilojoule per kilogram Kelvin. Right. Similar to this heat supply, we can able to easily understand the concept of heat rejection, because the heat rejection is happening here in 4 to 1 process. Again, it is isobaric process. So if it is isobaric process, mCp del T. M is mass of gas, Cp is specific heat of gas. Del T. Now tell me whether we can whether we have to substitute T4 minus T1 or T1 minus T4. Which temperature is higher? Before rejecting the heat, the temperature is maximum. After rejecting the heat, the temperature is minimum. So we are just putting T4 minus T1. See, it's very easy. No need to memorize these formulas. For isobaric process, the formula for calculating heat supplied or rejected is simple, mCp del T. The only thing is that you have to understand the concept of substituting the temperature, whether it is T3 minus T2 or T2 minus T3. So so maximum temperature minus minimum temperature will give you the value of heat supplied. Similarly, maximum temperature minus minimum temperature will give you the value of heat rejected in the isobaric heat rejection process. Now we can easily calculate the amount of energy which is supplied into the compressor by using the isentropic expansion formula. Already we get studied the same concept in your thermodynamics. Hope now we can understand the concept, right? We have a formula called P1 V1 minus P2 V2 divided by gamma minus 1. It's very simple. You can easily calculate this value, amount of energy which is given to the compressor. Similarly, amount of energy which we are getting from the turbine, P3 V3 minus P4 V4 divided by gamma minus 1. So already we have studied this concept in your thermodynamics. So just we are applying those concepts which already we have studied in your previous semester, where we are just we know the formula for calculating QS, we know the formula for calculating QR, heat rejected, heat supplied, work given to the compressor WC, similarly work extracted from the turbine WT. W net is nothing but WT minus WC. So amount of energy, amount of work done we are getting from turbine minus amount of work done given to the compressor, because we have a shaft connection, right? So in this way you can calculate WT, or else the easiest way is W net is equal to Q in minus Q out, because this is a cycle. Assume that we are getting, because this is a cycle, so W net is equal to WT minus WC as well as Q in minus Q out. So generally what is efficiency? Efficiency is nothing but output by input, right? So why we are having this Brayton cycle? The only purpose is that I want mechanical output, right? I want to have mechanical power. So my ultimate aim is that I want to have W net. So W net is nothing but you can go with WC minus WC. So W net is nothing but you can go with WT minus WC, or you can go with QS minus QR. So how can we calculate W net? It's very simple. You can go with WT minus WC, or you can go with QS minus QR. So the only thing is that efficiency is nothing but output by input. Output is W net. What is your input? Where we are giving input energy into this Brayton cycle? QS. We are just supplying the fuel energy. We are just supplying the fuel as input energy. What is the form of energy? Chemical energy. We are converting chemical energy into thermal energy. Again, we are converting thermal energy into mechanical energy. This is what happening in your Brayton cycle. Now it's very clear that efficiency is nothing but W net by heat supply. Let us assume heat supply is Q1, heat rejected is Q2. So what is W net? QS minus QR, which is nothing but Q1 minus Q2. Now you can see here, efficiency is nothing but output by input. So output, instead of W net, I am just substituting Q1 minus Q2. So what is input? Q1. Now instead of this Q, we can go with temperatures, so that we can have the temperature relation like this. Again, we have so many parameters. You see here, we have 4 parameters to find out the efficiency. It is not in the easiest form or user friendly manner to find out the efficiency, right? So we are going to simplify this form. See, we have 4 parameters. Efficiency is dependent on 4 parameters. So we are going to modify this equation to get a simplified form. For that, we are introducing a parameter which is called pressure ratio. It is very clear that pressure ratio concept is applied into your compressor or turbine. Both the concepts are same. Since this fellow compressor is compressing the air from 1 bar to 10 bar, and this fellow turbine is just expanding the gas from 10 bar to 1 bar. So both the pressure ratio for compressor and turbine are same. That is given as the notation as RP, pressure ratio, which is nothing but P2 by P1. As well as we all know that the formula for the PVT relation, as well as we all know that the PVT relation for isentropic compression and isentropic expansion processes, right? We have PV relation, TV relation, and TS relation. So already you had studied this concept in your previous semester. So by utilizing those concepts, you can able to easily convert this temperature ratio into pressure ratio. So finally, instead of this temperature limit, now we are introducing the concept which is called RP, pressure ratio. So since the only difference between this equation and to the final equation is, in previous equation we have 4 parameters T1, T2, T3, T4. But in this equation it is simplified. We have only one parameter which is called pressure ratio. So if you know the pressure ratio of your Brayton cycle, or if you know the pressure ratio of your Brayton cycle with intercooler, or Brayton cycle with reheater, or Brayton cycle with regenerator, or Brayton cycle with reheater and regenerator, or Brayton cycle with reheater and regenerator or intercooler, only thing is that you have to find out what is the pressure ratio RP. If you know the pressure ratio RP, you can simply substitute the value here, you can get the efficiency. Right, this is the very easiest way to find out the amount of heat supplied into the Brayton cycle QS, amount of heat energy to be rejected from this Brayton cycle QR, amount of work done to be spent on compressor, amount of work done which you are getting from this amount of work input given to the compressor, amount of work done which you are getting from the turbine, efficiency of your Brayton cycle. So easily you can calculate this value, easily you can compute the performance analysis of your Brayton cycle by this way. We have a concept which is called ideal Brayton cycle and actual Brayton cycle. Till now whatever we discussed is called ideal Brayton cycle. Then what is the difference between ideal Brayton cycle and actual Brayton cycle? It's very simple. Since if you have all the process which you have in your Brayton cycle is called isentropic compression, isobaric heat addition, isentropic expansion, isobaric heat rejection, these all the processes are reversible process, then it means ideal, it is called ideal Brayton cycle. If all the 4 processes are, or if all the 4 processes, if all the 4 thermodynamic processes are not isentropic process, then it is called actual Brayton cycle. The interesting fact is that all the practical Brayton cycles, all the practical gas turbine cycles, whatever we have in practical thing is actual Brayton cycles, not ideal Brayton cycles. Okay, the major difference between your actual Brayton cycle and the ideal Brayton cycle is very simple. Instead of having isentropic compression, instead of having isentropic expansion, we are having polytropic compression and polytropic expansion. So what is the problem with this polytropic compression and polytropic expansion? The problem is that the amount of energy required, the amount of work done which is given to the compressor, the work input given to the compressor is increasing when compared to the isentropic cycle. If it is an isentropic process, let it be 5 kW is required for doing the compression. But If it is actual Brayton cycle, instead of isentropic compression, you are having polytropic compression. So maybe instead of 5 kilowatt, 6.5 kilowatt or 7 kilowatt is required. So this is the first technical thing to be noted. Second thing, isentropic expansion. Instead of isentropic expansion in your turbine, if you have polytropic expansion, which means instead of having 10 kilowatt of work extraction, instead of having 10 kilowatt of extraction, you have only 7.5 kilowatt of work extraction. So you have two problems here. One is about the work input given to the compressor is increasing in actual Brayton cycle. Second thing is that the work output which you are getting from the turbine is reducing. It is decreasing because of actual Brayton cycle process. Because this is not isentropic process. These two processes are called polytropic process. So the overall efficiency is decreasing. And next important thing is that we are talking about this isobaric heat addition, isobaric heat rejection, right? In combustion chamber, we are assuming that there is no pressure drop is happening in combustion chamber as well as in heat rejection. But unfortunately, in practical cases, we are having pressure drop in that isobaric heat addition and isobaric heat rejection process. So because of these four issues, the overall efficiency of the Brayton cycle is getting decreases. Now this is called actual Brayton cycle. Okay. So now let us recall the technical things which we had discussed in this video lecture. So the first one is about Brayton cycle. Hope you can remember in Brayton cycle we have four processes: isentropic compression, isobaric heat addition, isentropic expansion, isobaric heat rejection. So we have only four process. You can able to easily understand this concept. Four process: 2 isentropic compression, 2 isobaric process. So 2 isentropic process, 2 isobaric process. We have four processes in Brayton cycle: 2 isentropic process, 2 isobaric process, 1 isentropic compression, 1 isentropic expansion, 1 isobaric heat addition, isobaric heat rejection. And you have compressor, you have combustion chamber, you have turbines, you have thermodynamic processes, where you can understand the concept of how can we compute the performance of each and every systems, and how can we compute the performance of Brayton cycle with reheater, without reheater, with regenerator, without regenerator, and with intercooling, without intercooling and all. And very important thing is that how much amount of heat energy is really supplied, that is called specific heat ratio, and how much amount of energy you are just taking from the turbine to run your compressor, that is called work ratio. So you should be very careful with these arrangements of your you should be very careful with the modifications to be done on your Brayton cycle with the intercooler and reheater and regenerator. These things will decide you what is the efficiency of your Brayton cycle, and what is the amount of energy, what is the amount of heat energy to be supplied, what is the amount of heat energy to be rejected, what is the amount of work input given to the compressor, what is the amount of work output which you have to take from turbine, what is the overall efficiency of your system, what is the overall efficiency of your Brayton cycle. So all the 5 parameters is included in a single parameter, which is called pressure ratio, RP. RP, pressure ratio, is the only parameter which can tell you that what is the efficiency of your system. So with this we can wind up this video lecture. We will meet in next video lecture. Thank you all, love you all, stay safe, bye.